11 black actresses and singers who have transformed and you can't recognize today. They were once among the most recognizable black women in entertainment, but decades later, time and reinvention have created transformations that may leave longtime fans stunned. From legendary singers to unforgettable actresses, these women have lived through changing beauty standards, shifting fashion personal struggles, and the relentless pressure of fame. Some simply embraced natural aging, while others completely reinvented their style and public image. But behind every before and after photo is a story far more powerful than appearance alone. So which transformation will surprise you the most? Stay with us until the end, hit the like button, subscribe to Golden Black Legends, and tell us in the comments which star you remember most from her younger years. Grace Jones. At 78, Grace Jones looks dramatically different from the young Jamaican model who entered the fashion world more than 5 decades ago, but transformation has always been central to her identity. Born in Jamaica in 1948 and raised partly in Syracuse, New York, Jones moved to New York City as a young woman and began modeling before relocating to Paris. There, her striking bone structure, towering presence, and fearless attitude attracted an industry searching for something impossible to imitate. By the late 1970s, Jones had moved from fashion into music. After initially recording disco, she reinvented her sound with albums including Warm Leatherette and Nightclubbing. Songs such as Pull Up to the Bumper helped establish her distinctive musical persona. Then came another transformation: her sharp, geometric haircut, sculptural clothing, dramatic makeup, and collaborations with photographer and creative partner Jean-Paul Gaultier created some of the most recognizable images of the 1980s. Hollywood expanded her visibility further. Jones appeared as Zula in Conan the Destroyer in 1984 and 1 year later played Mayday opposite Roger Moore in the James Bond film A View to a Kill. She was no longer simply a singer or model. She had become a complete visual performance, sometimes glamorous, sometimes intimidating, but rarely predictable. Decades later, comparing Grace today with photographs from her early modeling years can be astonishing. Yet it would be misleading to attribute that evolution to unverified cosmetic procedures. Aging naturally accounts for part of the difference, while hairstyles, makeup, fashion, photography, and Jones's deliberate reinvention have continually reshaped how audiences perceive her. What remains remarkably consistent is her refusal to become ordinary. At 78, Grace Jones has spent more than half a century challenging conventional expectations surrounding femininity, race, age, and beauty. Her face has matured, fashions have disappeared, and generations have changed, but Grace's greatest transformation may be that she never allowed the world to freeze her in a single version of herself. Brandy Norwood. At 47, Brandy Norwood presents a noticeably more mature image than the teenage performer America First embraced in the 1990s, yet her evolution has unfolded gradually across more than 3 decades. Born in Mississippi and raised in California, Brandy entered entertainment, young, appearing on Thea, before releasing her self-titled debut album in 1994. The record established the 15-year-old as an R&B star, producing hits including I Wanna Be Down and Baby. Television made her even more recognizable. Beginning in 1996, Brandy starred as Moesha Mitchell on Moesha, which ran for 6 seasons. Then in 1997, she portrayed Cinderella opposite Whitney Houston in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. A year later, her duet with Monica The Boy Is Mine became one of the defining R&B recordings of the decade and earned them a Grammy Award. As Brandy moved beyond her teenage years, audiences watched her appearance and public image evolve. The youthful braids strongly associated with her early career gave way to an enormous variety of hairstyles, makeup choices, fashion eras, and increasingly sophisticated red carpet looks. Motherhood, adulthood, changing musical tastes, and decades before cameras naturally created a woman visually different from the teenager remembered by longtime fans. Her journey was not without difficult chapters. Personal tragedy, career setbacks, and intense public scrutiny complicated the transition from teenage celebrity to adult artist. Nevertheless, Brandy continued recording and acting, refusing to become permanently trapped in 1990s nostalgia. It would be irresponsible to attribute changes in her face or body to specific cosmetic procedures without reliable confirmation from Brandy herself. What can be documented is an extraordinary evolution in styling and presentation across more than 30 years. At 47, Brandy is no longer the teenage girl audiences first met. Yet behind every changing hairstyle and fashion era remains the unmistakable voice that earned her the enduring nickname, the Vocal Bible. Toni Braxton. When Toni Braxton emerged nationally in the early 1990s, audiences immediately recognized something unusual: a deep smoky contralto paired with an elegant image that seemed almost effortless. Born in Maryland in 1967, Braxton grew up singing in a religious household before her professional breakthrough. Her self-titled debut album arrived in 1993 and became a major commercial success, establishing her among the defining R&B performers of her generation. Then came Secrets in 1996. The album contained You're Making Me High and the enormous ballad Unbreak My Heart, which spent 11 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Suddenly, Toni's short hairstyles, glamorous gowns, and sophisticated presentation were nearly as recognizable as her voice. But behind that polished image, her career became considerably more complicated. Braxton filed for bankruptcy in 1998, following financial disputes, and later rebuilt her career through recording Broadway television and touring. She subsequently faced serious health challenges and has publicly discussed living with lupus. Those experiences changed the story surrounding her. The glamorous superstar audiences saw on stage was simultaneously navigating difficult realities away from it. Across 3 decades, Toni's visual presentation has continually evolved. She has experimented with pixie cuts, longer hairstyles, dramatic stage fashion, minimalist looks, and different makeup aesthetics. At 58, naturally, she does not look identical to the woman photographed for her 1993 debut. However, a responsible transformation story should separate visible change from speculation. Photographs alone cannot establish which cosmetic procedures someone may or may not have undergone, and unsupported claims should not be presented as fact. What is undeniable is Toni Braxton's ability to reinvent herself. From young R&B phenomenon to Broadway performer, reality television personality, mother, and veteran recording artist, she survived circumstances that could have ended her career. Her appearance evolved, but the deeper transformation was becoming a woman who learned how to survive fame rather than simply embody it. Bernadette Stanis. For millions who grew up watching television in the 1970s, Bernadette Stanis will forever be remembered as Thelma Evans, the intelligent, fashionable daughter at the heart of Good Times. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1953, Stanis was only 20 when the groundbreaking sitcom premiered in 1974. Almost overnight, her youthful face, graceful presence, and unmistakable style became familiar inside American homes. Good Times ran for 6 seasons until 1979, and Thelma became one of the era's memorable young black female characters. Stanis brought warmth and personality to the role while appearing alongside Esther Rolle, John Amos, Jimmy Walker, and other performers whose characters became television history. For young black viewers, especially, seeing a character like Thelma presented as intelligent, ambitious, and beautiful carried significance beyond entertainment. But television can preserve someone at one age forever. Audiences continue watching reruns featuring Stanis in her 20s, while the real woman has lived nearly half a century since those episodes were produced. That gap can make her present-day appearance surprising to viewers encountering her again after decades. Stanis continued acting after Good Times, making television appearances while also becoming an author. Her life expanded beyond the character that made her famous, including marriage, motherhood, writing, and advocacy. Rather than constantly pursuing Hollywood visibility, she built an identity that existed outside Thelma Evans. At 72 in 2026, Stanis naturally looks different from the young actress preserved in 1970s television footage. That transformation does not require sensational explanations. 5 decades of aging, changing hairstyles, makeup, fashion, and personal growth tell the story more accurately than speculation about cosmetic intervention. And perhaps that is what makes her transformation emotionally powerful. Thelma Evans never ages in reruns. Bernadette Stanis does. Today, seeing her reminds longtime viewers not simply how much she has changed, but how much time has passed for the generations who grew up alongside her. Fantasia Barrino. When Fantasia Barrino walked onto the American Idol stage in 2004, she did not arrive looking like a carefully manufactured superstar. She was a 19-year-old single mother from High Point, North Carolina, carrying a powerful, raspy voice and a life story already marked by hardship. By the season finale, millions had watched her transform from an unknown young singer into the winner of American Idol Season 3. Her victory changed everything. Fantasia released I Believe, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, followed by her debut album Free Yourself. Her raw vocal delivery distinguished her from smoother R&B contemporaries, while her public image still reflected the young woman audiences had recently discovered on television. Over the following 2 decades, Fantasia's appearance evolved alongside her life. Short hairstyles, bold cuts, glamorous gowns, tattoos, dramatic makeup, fitness changes, and increasingly sophisticated fashion created numerous visual eras. Yet those outward changes accompanied something deeper. She navigated financial difficulties, highly publicized personal struggles, motherhood, marriage, and periods when the pressures surrounding fame threatened to overwhelm her. Then came one of her most important reinventions. Fantasia had previously played Celie on Broadway in The Color Purple, but years later she returned to the character for the 2023 film adaptation. Her acclaimed performance introduced audiences to a more mature actress whose emotional depth reflected years of experience far removed from the teenager America first met. The role earned Fantasia major awards, season recognition, and demonstrated that her career had expanded beyond being an American Idol success story. Now, 42 Fantasia can look dramatically different beside photographs from 2004. But attributing those differences to unverified cosmetic procedures would be irresponsible. 22 years of aging, styling, fitness, motherhood, and personal evolution provide documented context. Fantasia's most striking transformation isn't simply visible in before and after photographs. The struggling teenage mother who once sang for America's votes ultimately became an accomplished recording artist and leading actress, turning survival itself into part of her performance. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson was only a child when America first watched her perform, which makes her transformation across more than 5 decades especially striking. Born in Gary, Indiana in 1966, Janet grew up inside the famous Jackson family and appeared on the Jacksons variety show before acting in television series including Good Times, Different Strokes, and Fame. Those early images captured a young girl who could hardly have imagined the global superstar she would become. Everything changed musically with Control in 1986. Working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Janet established an identity independent of her famous brothers. Rhythm Nation 1814 followed in 1989, combining dance, social themes, military-inspired fashion, and precision choreography. By the 1990s, albums such as Janet and The Velvet Rope revealed increasingly mature versions of an artist determined to control her own image. Her appearance evolved alongside that music. Fans watched Janet move through countless hairstyles, makeup aesthetics, stage costumes, fitness changes, and fashion eras. From the structured Rhythm Nation look to softer 1990s styling and glamorous later appearances, reinvention became part of her visual language. Motherhood added another chapter when she welcomed her son, Isa, in 2017 at age 50. Janet has also endured extraordinary scrutiny surrounding her body and appearance. Responsible storytelling, however, should distinguish visible changes from unsupported assumptions. Photographs cannot prove specific cosmetic procedures, and speculation should never replace confirmed information. At 60 in 2026, Janet naturally looks different from the teenager preserved in early television footage. But focusing solely on her face misses the greater transformation. She went from the youngest sister in America's most famous musical family to a global icon with her own unmistakable legacy. Hairstyles changed, decades passed, and trends disappeared, but Janet Jackson's greatest reinvention was becoming unmistakably herself. Lonette McKee. Long before many viewers knew her name, Lonette McKee possessed the kind of presence Hollywood struggled to categorize. Born in Detroit, Michigan in 1954 to a black father and white mother, McKee grew up with music at the center of her ambitions. She began writing songs while young and recorded professionally before establishing herself as an actress, creating a career that would eventually span music, cinema, television, and theater. Her defining early screen moment arrived with Sparkle in 1976. Playing Sister, the glamorous but troubled eldest member of a singing group, McKee delivered a performance filled with confidence and vulnerability. Her striking appearance and musical ability made Sister unforgettable, and the film later became a cult favorite. She followed it with significant roles in productions including The Cotton Club, Brewster's Millions, Jungle Fever, and Malcolm X. Yet McKee never belonged comfortably inside one Hollywood category. Her biracial background and sophisticated screen presence emerged during decades when roles for black and mixed-race women remained limited. Rather than depending exclusively on mainstream film, she moved between acting, songwriting, singing, composing, and stage work. That long career also explains why viewers discovering her today may see someone very different from the young woman immortalized in Sparkle. Nearly 50 years separate those images. Hairstyles changed, fashion evolved, cameras became less forgiving, and natural aging reshaped the face audiences remembered from the 1970s. There is no need to manufacture a cosmetic surgery narrative around that evolution. Without reliable confirmation, visual comparisons cannot establish what procedures someone has undergone. At 72 in 2026, Lonette McKee represents transformation through longevity. The glamorous sister remains permanently young on film, but McKee continued living, creating, and maturing beyond that single image. Her story reminds longtime viewers of an uncomfortable truth about nostalgia. Sometimes when we say a star has changed beyond recognition, what truly shocks us is realizing how many years have passed since we first loved them. Lil' Kim. Few women in hip-hop have undergone a more discussed public image evolution than Lil' Kim. Born Kimberly Denise Jones in Brooklyn, New York, she emerged from the junior MAFIA circle alongside the notorious B.I.G. during the 1990s. Small in stature but enormous in personality, Kim immediately challenged expectations surrounding female rappers with provocative lyrics, fearless fashion, and an image built around absolute confidence. Her 1990s debut album Hardcore established her as a major hip-hop figure. As her fame expanded, so did her visual experimentation. Colorful wigs, daring designer outfits, dramatic makeup, and increasingly theatrical red carpet appearances became inseparable from her identity. One unforgettable example came at the 1999 MTV Video Music Awards, where her purple one-shouldered outfit became one of the era's defining celebrity fashion moments. Over the decades, however, discussion surrounding Kim increasingly shifted from music toward her changing appearance. Unlike cases where audiences merely speculate from photographs, Kim herself has publicly discussed some aspects of her cosmetic history. She previously spoke about undergoing surgery on her nose after experiencing physical abuse that injured it. Still, that does not justify assigning every later change to a particular procedure without reliable confirmation. Behind the headlines was a career that kept evolving. Kim won a Grammy as part of the collaboration. Lady Marmalade remained influential in fashion and helped create a blueprint for generations of female rappers who followed. Her extravagant presentation also continually challenged expectations surrounding sexuality and femininity in hip-hop. At 52, in 2026, Lil' Kim looks considerably different from the young Brooklyn rapper introduced to audiences 3 decades earlier. Aging, makeup, styling, fashion, and publicly acknowledged cosmetic intervention all form parts of that story, but reducing her transformation to her face would miss the larger picture. Kim transformed female rap itself. Long after individual looks faded, her influence remained visible in the artists who inherited the freedom she fought to express. Sheryl Lee Ralph. Sheryl Lee Ralph has experienced one of Hollywood's most rewarding long-term transformations, not because she became someone unrecognizable, but because the industry finally began recognizing the woman who had been there all along. Born in Connecticut in 1956 and raised partly in Jamaica, Ralph developed interests in performance and education early. After graduating from Rutgers University at a remarkably young age, she pursued acting during a period when Black women still faced sharply restricted opportunities across stage and screen. Her breakthrough came on Broadway in 1981, when she originated the role of Deena Jones in Dreamgirls. The performance earned Ralph a Tony Award nomination and introduced audiences to her commanding voice, polished appearance, and extraordinary stage presence. She subsequently expanded into film and television, appearing in projects including Moesha, where a generation came to know her as Dee Mitchell. Across more than 4 decades, Ralph's image naturally evolved. Hairstyles, makeup, fashion, and the polished glamour of her later red carpet appearances created a mature woman quite different from the young Broadway performer photographed in the early 1980s. Yet there is no responsible reason to turn that evolution into unsupported claims about cosmetic procedures. Time styling and changing fashion provide much of the visible story. Then, after decades of persistence, came an extraordinary career resurgence. In 2022, Ralph won the Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a comedy series for playing Barbara Howard on Abbott Elementary. Her emotional acceptance moment became a celebration of endurance after years of being overlooked. At 69, in 2026, Sheryl Lee Ralph represents transformation without surrendering identity. The young Dreamgirls star matured into an acclaimed television veteran, advocate, mother, and style icon. Her story proves that Hollywood recognition does not always arrive when talent first appears. Sometimes it takes 40 years for the spotlight to finally catch up. Candi Staton. At 86, Candi Staton carries more than 6 decades of musical history in her voice and appearance. Born Kanzetta Maria Staton in Alabama in 1940, she began singing gospel while still young and performed with the Jewel Gospel Trio before eventually entering secular music. By the late 1960s, her emotionally raw delivery was making her one of the memorable voices associated with Southern soul. Recordings such as I'm Just a Prisoner and her interpretation of Stand By Your Man helped establish her early reputation. But international audiences would later associate Staton with something very different. In 1976, she released Young Hearts Run Free, an enduring disco-era anthem whose energetic sound concealed lyrics shaped by emotional pain. Years later, You Got the Love introduced her voice to another generation through multiple releases and remixes. Behind the music, Staton's life was considerably darker than the glamorous photographs suggested. She has spoken publicly about surviving abusive relationships and difficult marriages. During the 1980s, she experienced a profound spiritual change and returned strongly to gospel music, rebuilding both her personal life and professional direction. Those transformations make photographs from different decades especially fascinating. The young soul singer with carefully styled hair and classic 1960s fashion gradually became a mature performer whose image reflected changing musical eras, spirituality, motherhood, and natural aging. Claims that she became unrecognizable through cosmetic intervention would be unsupported. The documented story is already powerful without speculation. Staten also continued recording well beyond the age when many performers retire. Her longevity turned transformation into something deeper than a before and after comparison. At 86 in 2026, Candi Staten is no longer the young woman pictured on her earliest record sleeves. More than half a century separates those images. Yet when her unmistakable voice rises through young hearts, Run Free Time seems to collapse and the survivor behind the song becomes recognizable again. Gloria Hendry. For viewers who remember the golden age of James Bond and 1970s, black cinema, Gloria Hendry remains an unforgettable face. Born in Florida in 1949 and raised in New Jersey, Hendry initially worked outside Hollywood before moving into modeling and acting. Her combination of confidence, glamour, and commanding screen presence arrived during an important period when black performers were demanding greater visibility in American entertainment. Her most internationally recognized role came in 1973 with Live and Let Die. Hendry played CIA agent Rosie Carver opposite Roger Moore in his first appearance as James Bond. Her role made her one of the earliest black women to receive romantic prominence within the Bond franchise, an important distinction at a time when interracial relationships remained controversial on mainstream screens. Hendry continued working throughout the 1970s, becoming closely associated with the blaxploitation era. She appeared in films including Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem, and Black Belt Jones. Those productions gave black actors greater screen presence while also existing within an industry still struggling with stereotypes and limited opportunities. More than 5 decades have now passed since audiences first watched Hendry alongside Bond. Naturally, the woman seen in later photographs differs considerably from the actress preserved forever in her 20s. Aging hairstyles, makeup, fashion, and the enormous passage of time offer responsible explanations for that evolution. There is no need to invent cosmetic procedures simply because an older celebrity no longer resembles a decades-old publicity photograph. At 77 in 2026, Hendry represents something more meaningful than being unrecognizable. She represents survival beyond the image Hollywood originally sold. Rosie Carver remains permanently young whenever Live and Let Die plays again. Gloria Hendry continued living beyond that frame, and seeing her today reminds longtime viewers just how much history has passed since she first helped challenge what a Bond woman could look like. From Grace Jones and Janet Jackson to Toni Braxton, Lil' Kim and Cheryl Lee Ralph, these remarkable women have lived much of their lives in the public eye. Decades of natural aging, changing fashion, bold hairstyles, personal struggles and constant reinvention have transformed the images we once knew. But here's the question. When a celebrity looks dramatically different years later, are we witnessing genuine self-expression, the natural passage of time, or the pressure Hollywood places on women to remain forever young? And which transformation on this list surprised you the most? Share your opinion in the comments. We want to hear your side of the debate. Like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications for more unforgettable stories from Golden Black Legends.